Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you all.
Good to see you.
Thank you. So I just want to let everybody know that we are recording this evening. I hope you were given an alert when you came into the room. We are recording, so just to let you know. Often when we record, we do this in a webinar style, so we can't see your charming faces, but today we're in a meeting format, so we're very happy to see you today. It's always fun for me to see faces in front of me. Feels so different. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Kelly Greenlee. I am the community outreach librarian at Prince Memorial Library. And we're here for a fun presentation. I think this is going to be great. I am going to introduce you to Jill in just a moment. I will tell you that we do have the chat open, I think. Can you all see the chat? Oh, you can. Okay, good. So if you have any questions in the course of the presentation, why don't you just put them in the chat? That would work best, and then we'll make sure we get to the chat along the way or at the end. I hope that works for you, Jill.
Great.
Excellent. So let me introduce Jill. Jill McMahon. I'm going to show her on the screen. There she is. Jill McMahon is the founder of the Outdoor Movement Project, which focuses on programs that encourage all ages and abilities to spend more time outdoors where movement happens naturally. She's also the author of this book, Southern Maine Trails, a guide to 100 hikes for any season, any age, any ability. As the name suggests, this is a guide that takes you on 100 trails in Southern Maine, geared toward all levels of hikers. And once we get rolling, I will put into the link into the chat a little more information about the book, and the link to a little bit more information about the book, and access to where you can purchase it if you're interested. So I just want to share in the introduction to her book. I think this is really fun and clever. Sorry, I'm trying to let people in at the same time as talking. In the introduction to the book, she writes, "This is a general guide to the trails that I have explored. I am not a cartographer, a forest ranger, or a Maine guide. I am a person who loves the outdoors, adventure, writing, and quality time on trails with friends and family." So I can't think of anything that makes this book more approachable than that. So thanks for joining us, Jill. And I would love it if you started by telling us a little bit about how this book came to be.
Sure. Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for that introduction. And thank everyone for coming. So this book was sort of unplanned, and it was the sort of culmination of 2 years of exploring local trails. I started in 2020 when everything shut down for the pandemic. I had my 2 boys who were 10 and 13 at the time. They didn't have school. We were all at home, and I was teaching remotely, and we just needed something to get us a little break from the monotony and get us outside. And so we started exploring the Portland trails. There were 37 trails, and I just got hooked really quickly. I've always loved hiking and the outdoors, and it was real therapy for us, and we had so much fun that we just kept going. And when schools opened back up and the boys were in school, we had a puppy at that point, so I had the dog to walk. And I decided to just keep exploring trails, and it sort of became just part of my week at that point. And after 2 years of writing and sharing the trails on social media and a newsletter that I put out, I had a book. So I just self-published it, and this is the result. So I thought today I could talk about these amazing trails we have for the next 2 days. There are so many, but I decided just to share 10 of my favorite local trails with you, so that and some you may know about and some you may not. I keep discovering new trails. So these are 10 that I return to over and over and I really love. So I put together a little presentation that Kelly is going to share.
Can everyone see that? Excellent.
Okay. So all right, there we go. So as Kelly said, this guide, it's really just a starting off point for learning about the trails we have in Southern Maine. We're so lucky to live here. And my goal is really just, well, to provide a reference for these trails, but to show people that it really takes little effort or time in the car to find beautiful outdoor spaces. So yeah, we can go to the next one, Kelly. So I'm going to start with the Timber Point Trail, which is in Biddeford. This trail, it's a flat 1.4 mile loop, and it's great for all abilities because it's so flat. It's part of the Rachel Carson National Wildlife Refuge, which, if you don't know about this, it was established in 1966 in cooperation with the state of Maine, and it's protecting one of the largest networks of conservation land in southern coastal Maine. So it's a pretty incredible organization, and the properties that they're affiliated with are just beautiful. So this is one of those. Okay, Kelly. So as you start out on the trail, there's a cove, and then it's a very limited parking here. So I should note that if you plan to come, do try to come during the week. Weekends can be really busy. But you'll park in front of a little cove, and then you'll soon end up on this short wooded path through the woods. And then eventually you'll end up on the rocky coastline with views of Goose Rocks Beach and Timber Island. So on the next slide, you'll see that you can, actually, I guess I don't have a slide of it. You can go in low tide, you can walk out to Timber Island. There's a natural bridge made out of round stones, and we have been out there. I've been here a few times and did come once at low tide, and it's really, really fun to try to plan your trip at low tide so you can make it out there. So this house is also on the property. When you leave the beach, you leave the coast, you want to take a right, and this will lead you to the Ewing House. So this house was built by Louise and Charles Ewing, who summered here in the 1920s. And according to a sign they have on the property, Louise purchased Timber Point in 1929. She had a special love of nature and wild places, and it's largely thanks to her influence that Timber Point has remained relatively unchanged. So I think at one point could do tours of this house. They weren't open when we came because, again, it was during the shutdown of everything. So I'm not sure what the status is of that, but it's a really beautiful location. So it's fun to just walk around the grounds of the house and see the view that they had. So the next trail is Crystal Spring Farm, and this is in Brunswick. I don't know why I put Cumberland up there. It's actually in Brunswick. It's a 331 acre farm, and it includes 5.9 miles of trails that pass through forest, pasture, and working farmland. when I first came here, I was just blown away at the beauty of these fields, these open fields, and these beautiful wooded trails. And another cool thing about this spot is they have a labyrinth, which I have a picture of in a couple of slides. But so the Brunswick Topsom Land Trust worked very hard to return this historically important dairy farm to active farming, which it is now. BTLT operates a farmers market here from May to October. And the Crystal Spring Community Farm manages over 100 acres of organic wild Maine blueberries here, and they offer agricultural education programs. So it really is a community effort at this farm, which is so nice to see. I think I have a couple of slides. The next slide is, yeah, just some open fields. And then the slide after that shows the labyrinth. So this is, it's tucked into the woods. You wouldn't know it's there. There are 2 trailheads for this property. So we parked off of the Pleasant Hill Road trailhead, which is near the farm. And that one you have to walk a little ways, and you have to then cross over Pleasant Hill to wind up towards the labyrinth, which is near a community garden. But you can also park on, let's see, you can also park on a different road and access that labyrinth without all the walking if you can't do the walking. So I can't remember the name of the other trailhead. Let's see. Yeah, but it's easy to get to this labyrinth if you, Maurice Drive. So that's where the north trails are. And that is just an easier access point for this labyrinth. Dogs are not allowed in the labyrinth, but dogs are allowed on all the trails at the farm. So the next trail is Rhines Forest. And this trail is in Cumberland. It's the largest forested area remaining in Cumberland, and it's right near the heart of Cumberland. It's managed by the Shabby Cumberland Land Trust, and it is filled with diverse wildlife, waterfalls, streams. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I brought a group of campers here. For the last 2 years, I've run an after-school outdoor program, and we visit trails, and this was just a magical afternoon we spent here. They swam a couple of weeks ago. They swam, they built forts. It was just, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful spot. So we have a few pictures of the trails. So the town of Cumberland signed a conservation easement with CCLT, the Shabby Cumberland Land Trust, to ensure that the forest would remain a natural area managed for wildlife habitat and public enjoyment forever. And so they now protect 268 acres of forest here, and all for public use and enjoyment, which is the thing that really, it was just, I was sort of blown away when I was opened up to this whole world of land trusts, and the fact that all of these incredible trails are maintained, they're preserved, and they're just free for anybody to come and explore. I just think it's a really incredible resource we have. So the total network here is 2.5 miles, and there are 2 trailheads off of Range Road. This next trail.
And I'll add, for those people who are local and know about Rhines Forest already, they've just put in a new parking lot right nearby. So parking, there's a great little parking lot, parking area, I should say, right nearby the trailhead at Rhines Forest, which is new, and you don't have to pull off the road anymore. And
right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a great feature. So this next trail is the Cliff Trail in Harpswell. It's a rugged trail that includes a shore walk along Strawberry Creek and views that overlook Long Reach from 150-foot cliffs. So I always say, if you're coming here with toddlers or puppies, just make sure you're aware of where they are, because it really does just drop off. But the view is really neat. It's you look out little unnamed island. And I think someone should come up with a name for it, but that's not my job. So in the next slide, there's a picture. There are some areas here where you can reach the beach, the sand beach along the water. And so this is my son Finn and Henry when they were a lot younger, and they found a little cave. And I just think the fun thing about being on trails with kids is that they see things that we don't see as adults. And they're always sort of opening my eyes to details of the trail that I wouldn't normally have seen on my own, being an adult and being in my head. So if you don't have any young kids in your life, I would borrow some and head out on the trails because they're just really fun to explore with. So the total loop here is 2.1 miles. And according to the website I checked recently, it said the first half mile is ADA accessible. I haven't been back myself to check that. I'm assuming they wouldn't make that up, but it was pretty rough when I was there, a lot of roots on the path. So if you are looking for an ADA accessible trail, I would maybe just call the town and just double check where they're at with that. Sometimes they're in progress. Hopefully they're finished with that. So the next trail I'm going to talk about, it's actually not in the book because I just went a couple of weeks ago. It's called Emmons Preserve. And this was such a surprise to me. I'd already seen 100 trails. I thought I'd seen everything. And I was dropping some trail guides off at a little farm called Frinklepod Farm in Arundel. And I asked Flora, the owner, if she could recommend a trail to me. And she said, check out Emmons Preserve. And what we found was this amazing labyrinth and an educational story walk and this little brooks and rivers and bridges and open fields. It was absolutely gorgeous. So I am going to share about this one, I think tomorrow, but this is not in the book. So this is a 3.3 mile network of trails, and it's managed by the Kennebunk Conservation Trust, and it's located at their headquarters on 57 Gravelly Brook Road in Kennebunkport. So it's the preserve has a waterfall, an old mill site, the Emmons Cemetery. When you first come in, there's a stick fort tunnel, there's the stone labyrinth, the learning loop. It's an incredible place. It was donated to the Kennebunkport Conservation Trust by Steve and Natalie Emmons, who once homesteaded here. And according to KCT, Steve's dream was to have the property serve as a place for children to connect in nature, which reminds me of Governor Baxter, because all of our signs say the same thing about him. It was often about children and wanting them to have natural outdoor spaces. So grateful for these people that have really worked hard to maintain these places. So anyway, this Steve Emmons had already cut down some of the trails in the woods, and he enjoyed exploring the area before it was, preserved. And the original path, Jeremy's Trail, was named in memory of a 15-year-old Jeremy Walker Georgix. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's Georgics. And this is a picture of the Stick Fort Tunnel, which is just as you park in the main lot, you'll see it off to your left. And there's a short loop that you can follow. I think there's a little ferry building section in that loop. So before you actually head out on the trail, you'll see this. It's really neat. I don't know the story behind it, but I will find out. And then as you head out the trail, we took it's sort of a Y, and we went towards the left. I'll have all these directions in the email I send out tomorrow. But as you wind around, there's this huge community labyrinth, and it was constructed with stones in honor of loved ones. So local community members donated stones in honor of people that they loved and had lost, which I just thought was really, really sweet. And it's a beautiful labyrinth. That's a picture of my brother walking that. So you leave the labyrinth, and then there's a large bridge to cross over to the Batson River, and there's a learning trail there with different stations. And that was created in collaboration with a local school. So it's pretty neat. There are lots of stations. It's a great place to bring kids again. That's the bridge leading over. So, sorry, Kelly, my notes keep disappearing. Okay, so the next one, Big Falls Preserve. This is in New Gloucester. This we went to at the very start of this trail exploration. So we went in the winter time, and a friend told me about this preserve. I think I lost my notes, so I'm just going to talk. I believe it was preserved in 2018, so pretty recent, and it's beautiful. It's a short loop, and a lot of the trail goes along the water. There's also a large waterfall, but the first thing you come to when you reach the trail is an old Chevy. I think it's like a 1947 Chevy. And what I learned was that the owner, who once owned a parcel of that property, and I don't have his name because I don't have my notes, but he was an auto mechanic, and there it is. He was an auto mechanic, and this was his parts car. So he parked it out in the woods. They had another car. This was sort of their logging cabin that they went to. They had a primary residence, so they would come here on the weekends, and he would drive his regular Chevy, and if he needed parts for that car, he would come out here and take them from this old car. And it's just really fun to see. My kids got a kick out of that. So I like finding little interesting historical remnants on these trails, and they all seem to have them, whether it's old foundations or weird things like this. It's just fun to go back and research the history. So after this, you keep walking, and then you get to the Big Falls, and there they are. So I think this would be a great place to visit in the summer. We went in the winter, but I think you could definitely take a dip. I don't know if you could swim, but there is a pool at the end of these falls. So a lot of these trails do have little swimming holes, which is also nice for our kids and dogs. And yeah, so that might be the end of that one, Kelly. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I didn't get to see this little building when we were here, but again, just these interesting things you find when you're out on a trail. It's a small chapel, and when I was researching the trail, this picture came up a couple of times, and we didn't get to see it because it was on the other side of the main wide sort of logging road, dirt trail that you take back to your parking spot. But if you cross over that, there's a red trail, and I think it's called Nurumba Chapel, and that's the name of the trail. So if you do go to Big Falls, I would definitely suggest just taking that small path and see if you can find this little chapel. I just think it's kind of neat looking, and it's tucked into the woods. So a little treasure hunt for you if you decide to go. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is another waterfall, another fall that you will find tucked into Portland. Again, Portland is incredible with the trails and trail system that they have. And my neighbor Bill told us about this spot maybe 3 or 4 years ago, before I really started researching local trails. And I had no idea it was here. We'd been in Portland for 18, 19 years, and I did not know this this was here. So I think this actually is the trail that sort of started this whole thing for me, because I was kind of floored when I found it, and I I just couldn't believe that I didn't know this had been here the whole time. I love the outdoors. I spend a lot of time outside with my kids. And I just realized that people need to know about these incredible places. If I didn't know about this, I just thought, wow, how many people don't know that this exists right in Portland? So I think this really sort of was the starting off point for my journey. But this is a beautiful trail. If you go to the next slide, it shows, yeah, this is and also a great trail for swimming. This is the Presumpscot River. And in the summer, you'll see a lot of people swimming here. There are 2 or 3 different it's muddy sand, but sand beaches. And I've gone swimming here. My kids have gone swimming here. So this is my group of campers that I brought last summer. It's just it's a great place to come. Dogs love these trails. They can be off leash, which is great. And they go on for miles. This is just another shot of another access point to the water. And this was, I think, taken in the fall. It's spectacular in the fall with the changing colors and that reflection on the water. It's a beautiful spot. It's really one of my favorites. Okay, Saco Heath. This is probably the most beautiful boardwalk that I've laid eyes on. It's multicolored. It has greens and different shades of red and white. And it goes out for a mile. So the total out and back is 2.1 miles. This is great. Another great for kids. It's not listed as ADA accessible, but I believe it's probably is pretty close because it's flat the entire way and the boardwalk is pretty wide. So I think it's a safe bet to say that it'd be an okay place to come in a wheelchair. Let's see if I can get to the information about this bog. Okay, so I'll give you a little backstory on what this heath actually is. So it's called a unique coalesced bog. This is managed by the Nature Conservancy. So a bog forms over thousands of years when vegetation fills in natural ponds. The decomposed soil that remains is called peat. So at Saco Heath, these layers of peat have accumulated in the center of ponds and eventually rise above the water table to form raised bogs that grow together. And when you walk across this boardwalk, it's if you click to the next couple of slides, Kelly, it's this vibrant, just red color. And so this particular bog is an example of a wooded shrub heath habitat. There are different types of bogs. It's just the colors are just stunning. So the other nice thing about this trail is there are 2 or 3 sets of benches along the way. So if long walks is a challenge, then there are plenty of places to stop and rest. Yeah, there's a picture of the red in the bog. So this is it's a great trail for all abilities, all ages. It's very unique. So the next, almost to the end, I think. The next trail is Millbrook Preserve in Westbrook. This I've been to, probably 40 times at this point. I like to come here with my dog. It's managed by the Presumpscot Regional Land Trust, and I think they do a really nice job with signs and trail maintenance and benches. And their trails are always, everybody does a good job, but this trail is just so well maintained. So it features a 6-mile trail system on 130 acres of forested land along the crystal clear Millbrook. So the other really cool thing about this trail is it's notable for the largest migration of alewife fish to Highland Lake in late May to early June. So I just brought my campers here a week or two ago, and there's a if you go to the Perry Court trailhead, there are 4 or 5 trailheads for Millbrook Preserve, and I usually go to Perry Court because there's a nice 2-mile loop that I do from that trailhead. But if you take the Perry Court trailhead and follow it, it's probably about a third of the way around the loop. There, you'll come to Goldilocks Falls, and it's a beautiful rock waterfall. And then the alewives will pool at the bottom of those falls and try to make their way up. So we did see a bunch of alewives. They have it's roped off, so you can't really go near them. They're just trying to make sure that they do their job and get where they need to go without interruption. So it was definitely hard to keep the kids and my dog out of the water, but we did okay. So there's a lot to see here, and it's so peaceful and quiet. I don't usually see that many people here, so if you just need to get away and not be near people, this would be the trail for you. So Barrier Beach, I think this is our last trail. So this is located at the Wells Reserve in Wells, which if you don't know about Wells Reserve, you should definitely check it out. It's a center for education, conservation, and research. And this trail is a 1.8-mile loop that includes mixed woodland, long length of boardwalk, and a scenic marsh overlook leading to this beautiful beach. And the most amazing part about this beach is that there's no public parking. So I think it's really for the private residences that are living there. It's open to the public, but really the only way to get there is by this trail. So it's never busy. It's gorgeous. They have tide pools and round stones and big, beautiful houses. So it's a fun destination to have that to look forward to. If you go along this trail, when you get to Wells Reserve, so this is a marsh overlook. This is before you get to the beach, you'll come here. I should note that this trail can be really buggy in early summer, late spring. I brought a group of campers here last year around that time, and they were eaten alive. And they basically said to me, Jill, this is the worst field trip you've ever taken us on. So I made a note to let people know when I tell them about this amazing trail, just maybe go late in August, September. It is so worth visiting. It's absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, bug season is probably not the time to come unless you have a net for your head. So the next slide should show the beach at the end. And again, it's really not busy, so it's quite a gem and a great destination for the trail. The Wells Reserve, it's open year round from 7 a.m. to sunset. And there's a large parking lot, so you never have to worry about parking. There is a small admission fee. It's just a few dollars. I don't remember the exact amount. There's a little booth, a ticket booth when you get there. And then right up the hill from that ticket booth, there are bathrooms, which is really nice. And then they have all the old farm buildings, and lots of educational programs happen there. Years ago, I remember seeing some birds released at one of their farms, and that was really fun. It's a venue for weddings and events, and there's just a lot going on. They have a lot to offer. So again, I would just check the trail out and the offerings. So that's the beach, beautiful stones. The trail challenge. So this is something that came out of the sharing of trails. I got a contact at LL Bean, and they donated a bunch of gift cards. So I started a trail challenge, and basically, if you explore 5 trails, I hide this little clay guy that one of the trail challenge families decided to call a Seacom, and I liked that, so I stuck with it. My husband is a ceramicist, so he was making these for fun, and I'm like, we should hide those in the woods. So now we hide them in the woods, and kids and families and all ages go and find them. And when I send a weekly newsletter, and I usually try to send a new trail to explore, but I will share details on where to find the Seacom. So I think in the next slide, Kelly, it shows the Seacom. Yeah, that's what they look like. They're all different, and he keeps changing them. And some have 3 eyes, some have 2. Sometimes they lose an eye on the journey, and then they're a pirate. So it's always an adventure, but they're really fun, and it gives kids something to get excited to go find and just get them out there. Because once they're outside and they're on the trail, they love it. Sometimes it's just hard to get them out the door. So with the trail challenge, anyone can do it. It's free. These are my husband. You may have seen his cups. Timber Ceramics is his name. So he makes these fun monster cups. So with the challenge, people just email me when they've done 5, and then I mail them out the LL Bean gift card. So you're all welcome to do the challenge if you haven't done it yet. And all of the information is here on my website. And I have the book, which is a printed version of all the trails with all the detailed information. But I also have on the website, I have a list on the trail challenge page of the 100 trails. And there's a link on each trail to the post about that trail. So it will give you all the details you need. So you don't have to buy the book. If you want to buy the book, you just go to the website. But it's all the information is out there. It's right on the website. If you want to just click and go to any of the 100 trails, you should have all of the information you need. So I think I'm ready for questions. If anybody has any, that's the end of my talk.
Thank you, Jill. That was very informative. I am curious if I'm particularly interested in trails for people with limited walking ability. If you could I hate to put you on the spot, but can you think of 3? I mean, you already mentioned one, I think it was Saco Heath.
Yeah, Saco Heath is a great one.
Yeah.
And it was actually surprising to me. I sort of started this whole thing focused on kids because I had my own kids, and I found out that there were a lot of older, grandparents taking their kids, and then just grandparents going out on the trails and hiking. So I did start to really try to be aware of accessibility on trails. And in the trail guide, I make a note of that on every trail. If the difficulty and whether or not it's accessible. So I would say the first one that comes to mind is Portland is the Back Cove Trail, because that is flat pretty much all the way around, wide, flat. That's a really easy one to get onto and be on. The Royal River Park Loop in Yarmouth is a great one. That's actually mostly paved. So it's a beautiful trail, but it's very accessible and easy to get to. The Greenbelt Walkway in South Portland is another great one, also paved and flat, but it's really pretty, and it leads out to Bug Light Park. So that is a nice option. I'm just looking in the guide right now to see what else. Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind.
Okay.
I think that was 3.
Thank you.
There are more. There are a lot more.
Yeah.
They're just not coming to me right now, but yeah.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have one question, Kelly. Jill, you said the Greenbelt Walkway, is that South Portland and it comes into Bug Light somewhere?
Yep, that is South Portland, and there are different access points for that trail. Well,
Okay.
I have parked near, I don't know if you know where the Starbucks is.
Yeah, I've parked near and gone to Bug Light, but I wasn't aware there was a trail coming into it from somewhere.
Yeah.
And Carl uses a walker, and so we have to go where it's reasonably easy. And we've been to Mackworth Island, and that's reasonable
Yeah.
for his walker.
Yep.
But I was interested in this Greenbelt walkway. So where do you go, at the Starbucks?
Yeah, I mean, that would from that point, it's a couple of miles, I think, to get to
Oh, okay.
Bug Light. So I would almost start at Bug Light and
Okay.
go backwards and see how far you get. It goes
Okay.
on for miles, but it's relatively flat the whole way. It's really wide, it's paved. That would be a great one. And
Great.
Bug Light is such a pretty park and place to
Yeah.
start, starting and
Yeah.
ending there would be nice.
Thank you. It's good.
Yeah.
Liz Ventry just said that also the trail on the end of Portland is paved and wide. Liz, do you want to?
Oh, the East End?
East End.
East
Yeah,
End, thank you.
Yes.
sorry. My typing's not very good.
The East End, yeah, the East End Trails is beautiful. And yeah, that is another, yeah, and you can connect to that from the Back Cove Trail
Yeah.
as well, which is if you really want to extend your trip, you can do that. So yeah, that's such a beautiful trail. We love that one.
Jill, we have a question from Abby, who is wondering what's the most challenging trail on your list?
That's a good question. I would say, some of the trails that are really out in the woods, like Blackstrap, in Falmouth, Blackstrap Hill has a lot of like ups and downs and roots, and so that one can be a little trickier. Yeah, some sections of the Millbrook Preserve, the northern sections are pretty, for me, I just look at root systems and grade of the paths. So when I see that, I try to let people know that it's more difficult. But again, all the ratings are listed in the book. So I'm hoping they're accurate and helpful. I try to go by, I use Maine Trail Finder. I go to the Land Trust websites, and I also use All Trails. So I look at all of their ratings. So they should be pretty accurate, but yeah.
Does anybody in the group have a suggestion for, I mean, I'm assuming, Abby, from your question that you're looking for a challenging trail. Does anybody in the group have a suggestion in the Southern Maine area for a challenging trail? Silence, so I'm thinking no. Oh, so she's looking for something with views.
Yes. I mean, I do a lot of bigger hiking too, and I try to find things that are close by. I do a lot of hiking. So I also share that. If you haven't signed up for my newsletter, I share local trails and the trail challenge, but I also share about any larger hikes that I do in the White Mountains or, anywhere in Maine, usually no further than 2 hours away. And I'm trying to get closer and closer with the cost of gas right now. It's crazy. But I also just started a new series about hikes near good places to eat, because it was my husband's idea, because he likes hiking. He doesn't love it. So we thought we'd give him a carrot at the end of the need a carrot at the end of the stick if we could find a good place to eat after a hike. So I think that will be probably like mid-coast area. We'll have a lot of those, Camden, and hiking near restaurants. So I'm always sharing about hiking trails. If you're looking for something more difficult, I'll share a lot of those as well.
And you can sign up for your newsletter via your website.
Just through the website. It's on the homepage, and there's just a link. You just sign up, and then I send usually one email a week, sometimes two, depending on how much I've done.
That's a good question. So how often do you go out on hikes?
Local hikes every day. It's become sort of a way of life now, and it's great. I had a long period of my life where I didn't hike anymore. I hiked a lot when I was younger, in my early 20s, and I loved it then. And then, I stopped when I had kids and life got busy, and this has brought me back. Actually, the pandemic got me back out there, and it's sort of exploded. And I do bigger hikes now, which is great. But if I have a day that I'm not on a local trail, I feel like something's missing. I just don't feel quite right. It's really grounding, and it's so easy to do. They're everywhere. We have amazing trails everywhere. So yeah, once you start, you can't stop.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. Does anybody else have questions for Jill?
I just had one question, which was years ago when my kids were little, the Ludlow would have backpacks for kids. And do they still have it? They had like magnifying glasses and other things so that as you were walking with your kid, they could stop and they had like activities and everything in this little backpack, a little tweezer and whatever else. So I don't know if they still do that, but it was fun to have like a little magnifying glass and start looking at mosses and other things.
That's a great idea. Did you say Ludholm had that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so neat. I didn't know about that.
I will tell you that the library has some backpacks that people can check out. They're put together by the Maine Audubon, and they have different themes. So one is a bird watching theme, another one is a wildlife theme, and another one is plant themed. And it's got those kinds of things, like it's got binoculars and bird book and bird caller and all sorts of plant identifier pictures, that kind of thing. So yeah, so at the library, we do have those backpacks that people can borrow.
That's
Right.
great. That's so good to know. Kids love that kind of thing. Love it.
Yep. Yeah, they're quite popular, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any other questions for Jill? So tell us your website again is.
Yep, it's just www.kidsmovement or sorry, it used to be Kids Movement Project. Now it's outdoor. So outdoormovementproject.com.
Okay. And I will include that in an email to people tomorrow, just a follow-up email. And I'll also include the link to this recording if you want to share it with anybody.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
Jill, thank you. This was
Thank
fun.
you. This is great. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
It was
Thank
great.
you.
And feel free to always reach out with me. I love when people have trail questions. So all my contact info is on my website. And I really, it's such a fun thing for me to share information. So please, please reach out.
Excellent. Thank you. Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Kelly.
Good night.
Night.